Sup Minecrafters, SirRobHiFi here again. I'm going to take another look at the Venus Skytrap. Now, since I put the video out yesterday, I've been tweaking it and adding a couple of things. Well, I guess the first thing I'll show you is what I did for spider suppression. This is completely for aesthetic reasons, just because I like the way it looks. There's no need for this way of doing it. I could just use solid blocks, but I like it, so I thought I'd stick this on. And it's kind of like a water curtain, you know, like Doc M's got on his birdcage setup. This is just strips of water running down, and it's 1 block wide water, then 2 blocks space, 1 block of water, and so on across. And what that does is, because it's right up against these spawning pads, I guess you could call them, it stops spiders from spawning. Because without a block in here, I'm using water, but you could use solid blocks, spiders can spawn along these no problem. And it's a little bit dark in here, so I added a lighting feature to turn on and off the pads. Now, where did I put the switch? Oh, it's over that end. Okay. And it's lava lighting. Lag. Just for a couple seconds while it starts. And here we go. How pretty is that? So yeah, I like the idea of being able to light it up, as Joe Hills would say, so that I can see what's going on in here. Of course, nothing's going on here, partly because I've got it set to peaceful, but anyway, that's the lighting feature. I've still got to add in some restriction here, because one of the things Red Eyes brought up was what's to stop them from jumping. So if they jump and miss that step and land on the next step down, they can take damage. And it's a perfectly valid point, and I intended to put a series of steps down to cover this all up, but while I was still working on it and testing and messing around, I left it open, and it's still open for now. But I will add that so that each time, like where these glass blocks are, that stops them from jumping 2 spaces instead of just dropping down. So it will be along this line like that for each level. So that's the lighting and the spider suppression. I'm going to turn the lights off, and I'm going to show you a couple of problems. Now, I did say it was 100% efficient as far as loot. You're not going to lose any loot in this system, even if it is open like this and they do manage to jump over this one platform and land on the one below and take a little bit of damage. Even open like this, you're not going to lose any mobs, because they're not going to take enough damage to die before they get down to this center section. And that you can hear as a train going by. I live near an elevated train. That's going to happen quite often because it's early in the morning. Alright, so the real problem is with these end sections and the staircase on the sides here, because I get an accumulation of mobs. I'm going to switch mobs on here. Now, I've tried to avoid using pistons by messing around with various types of blocks and a couple of different setups, and I just cannot avoid, or so far I haven't been able to find a way to avoid an accumulation of mobs down these side sections, side staircases here. And to be honest, I wouldn't taper this at all if I was going to use a rail system, probably, because it would be much faster to let them drop from this point right down to the ground using this ladder setup than trying to taper it down to a 2x2 square over here. I could literally just drop them down and they would all be along a narrow channel at the bottom, and the rail carts would go around and pick up mobs, which actually would make it better for me for spacing. I could have a set of rail carts down at waist level of the two high mobs, pick those up. I could, they can walk off into a channel that the Enderman cannot walk off into, and pick those up around the outer side, and then at head height I can put a railway around at head height of the Enderman, a little bit away from the drop zone so I don't pick up regular tall mobs, and I can pick them up at head height and have two systems going. I don't have to separate the Enderman after picking up in carts, I can do it before. But back to this issue here, we can see now that I've had this running for a bit. We've got mobs on these steps. This side I actually literally used stairs just to try this out, but it's not made any difference what type of block I use. They tend to idle in place. They do eventually come down, but this is definitely slowing down the system a little bit. Sometimes one will be standing there and he'll stand there for quite a long time until he gets nudged off by another mob, or he finally decides to take the plunge and head towards terra firma. So that method, I removed signs and I started using more ladders, and that's why I had to replace and put in sandstone along these sides. And this side is still with the old setup with the signs. As you can see from here, where the mobs are standing on the glass here, there's a space, two spaces above the sign, step, and then a sign. And they can actually stand where that creeper's standing. The bottom edge of these signs causes collision, so they can't jump, and they just sort of stand there because they are now locked in place to an extent. They can walk off, but because they can't jump, and how mobs love to jump. See, that guy's trying to jump up and down, but he's hitting the bottom edge of that ladder, and it tends to upset them enough that they tend to stand there and just go, well, what's going on? Let me out of here. So I really think I might have to bite the bullet and throw in pistons if I do want to taper them down to a 2x2 square exit hole, as I call it. Down here, that I don't see a choice right now. I've been messing around with this for a long time, and nothing's really working. So I either deal with it and just let them accumulate and they will eventually make it down, but I don't like the idea of that. Or I put in pistons, or I just go with a straight drop from here as wide as these platforms are, which is 32 blocks. I do like to use 4 chunks as my base size, and the reasoning behind that is because You know, when you want to set up a slime farm, you can actually base your choice of setting up a base on slime chunks. And if you've got like 1, 2, 3 chunks all spitting out slimes, that's a nice place to set up a slime farm. You know, when you turn it on, it will be very high yield, and you can just turn it on for a little while, get your bunch of slime balls, and then turn it off again. Speeds up the process. So if you're looking at 4 chunks like that, then you will have a center point which intersects with all 4 chunks, and my base in my normal world does that. And this is the same way. The final 4 blocks at the bottom intersects 4 different chunks. So it's 32 wide that way and 32 long, covering 4 chunks. And I've kind of gone over that limit now because of this roof, but no big deal. So anyway, if you want to use a setup like this, bear in mind you're going to probably want to put piston stairs down in here just to speed this all up. It was a nice idea to go completely low-tech, no pistons, and this section still works beautifully without any need for pistons, and there's plenty of spawning area. You know, there's no need for the traditional flat pads and, you know, waiting for them to fall off and dropping them from a great height and all of that, because this gives you tons and tons of spawnable area. And they do make it down. If they spawn up here, they do tend to make it down quick enough that they're not going to despawn on the way if you're, you know, down at ground level in your base. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with this. I'm still going to be adding some stuff to it. I'm going to be messing around with this roof, try and come up with a cool design for that. And as far as materials, you know, not sure what I'm going to end up with when I build it for real, but I'm still in the testing stage, so it's not a perfected design yet, that's for sure. And of course I'm going to be thinking about the separation and killing methods and options down below here. And I heard that Roboticaust figured out that zombies don't actually have extra health compared to other mobs, but they do have extra armor, or a higher armor value. So thanks to Roboticaust for that, and Red Eyes for letting me know about that. And I want to give a shout out to Automator and Mr. Pixel Tech, and you know, all you guys. I watch your videos religiously, and always inspired by the things you guys come up with. And thanks for your feedback and comments and all of that. And of course to everybody else, my new 22 subscriber number that I hit as a result of this. I think I got 3 new subscribers out since I put this video out. I know it's pretty lame, but I'm happy to get 1 new subscriber, 2 new subscribers. So anyway, let's back out here and have a look at this thing from some different angles. I've got the wiring exposed to the sky, which probably isn't a good idea either, because my base is in a snow biome. So, oh, and that's another thing, 1.9, that even at skybox level, when you can't put blocks down anymore, you've absolutely hit the top level, you can still put down torches and snow can still accumulate on this surface, a snow layer. And mobs can spawn at this level now. They didn't used to be able to, as far as I know, because I remember on my old trap I didn't have to half slab out the roof, because at that time mobs couldn't spawn at the very top level, but now they can. So I've got a couple things there to think about. I've got to maybe drop the whole thing down one level so I can cover my wiring, cover up, I dropped the water down one level on the sides here so that wouldn't freeze, and also so it wouldn't let light in below. So I think that's all I wanted to talk about on this, and I think I'll sign off. Alright guys, I hope you like the setup, and if you've got any suggestions, any feedback at all, it's very welcome. Thanks a lot. Bye.